The film begins with Clara, a housewife, working in the kitchen when she hears voices from the tap. Soon, her husband, Juan, returns, relieved that the dog they hit with their car will survive, but Clara seems distracted. When asked about lunch, Clara tells him about the voices. Juan checks the tap, but hears nothing. Clara insists she heard threats to kill her. Juan, not wanting to upset her, suggests it might be thudding noises from their neighbor Walter, who's remodeling his house. At night, Clara feels uneasy and leaves her bed. Moments later, Juan hears loud thudding from the wall and loses his temper, yelling at Walter to stop, but it continues. Eventually, Juan goes to Walter's house and threatens to call the police if he doesn't stop the noise. As Juan returns, he hears the noises again, but realizes they're not from Walter's side. He checks on Clara and finds her levitating and slamming against the walls. Juan tries to stop her, but fails. Later, Juan is seen in prison, sitting before Deputy Jonah, Dr. Albrecht, and Rosentak. They claim to believe his story and ask him to recount the events of the past 2 weeks. He mentions an accident near his house and that his neighbor, Walter, was remodeling at odd hours. Hearing Walter's name, the three become attentive. The scene shifts to Walter's perspective, showing his struggle with a paranormal presence. He contacts Dr. Albrecht for help, but her assistant says she's unavailable and asks him to call back tomorrow. At night, Walter senses someone under his bed, but finds nothing. He takes his medication and tries to sleep, but an eerie presence wakes him. Walter checks again, but finds nothing under his bed. As he lies back down, a supernatural figure is seen beneath it. He tries to sleep, but wakes to strange noises. He turns on the lights and sees someone running away. Terrified, Walter covers himself and prays. The next morning, he wakes to find his house destroyed. He contacts Dr. Albrecht again, but her assistant says she can't take his case due to a lack of evidence. That night, Walter sets up a camera to capture proof of the eerie presence. He falls asleep, but wakes in the middle of the night. Walter finds his camera knocked over and notices a shadow on the wall. He turns on the light and approaches the camera. Checking the footage, he sees a mysterious figure staring at him and hiding in the cupboard. He grabs his gun and inspects the cupboard, but finds no one inside. He reviews the video again and sees the same creepy creature sneaking out the window. As Walter notices it and reaches for his gun, the creature overpowers him. The next day, a boy named Nino arrives to retrieve his football and drinks water from Walter's tap. Seeing this, Walter angrily tells Nino to leave for his own safety. Frightened, Nino steps back and is hit by a passing bus. On the day of the funeral, Juan notices Walter hasn't left his house to attend. The scene shifts to Deputy Jonah, who wakes to a call from his friend, Detective Finesse. Finesse shares details of Nino's accident and asks Jonah to come to his house. A police car takes Jonah to Finesse's place. Finesse's colleagues are too scared and leave. Finesse then leads Jonah to the dining table, where they find Nino's dead body seated, ready for breakfast. Finesse claims to have seen the body move once. Jonah examines Nino's body and suggests Finesse tell people it's a case of exhumation, as parents often struggle to accept losing their child. But Finesse hesitates. When questioned, Finesse reveals he knows Nino's mother, Alicia, and they've been in a relationship for a while. Jonah suggests reburying the body. Otherwise, Alicia could be sent to an asylum for years. The next morning, Jonah notices a woman outside, taking photos of Walter's house. He approaches her and recognizes her as Dr. Albrecht. Jonah acknowledges her work on paranormal activity and metasymbiosis. Thinking there might be a connection, Jonah mentions he has something of interest to her. As he leads her to Nino, Finesse pulls Jonah aside. He expresses his concerns, stating he can't risk his career being tarnished. Jonah reassures him and asks him to prepare for the burial. Before Finesse leaves, Jonah advises using concrete for the new grave to prevent Nino from returning. Later, Jonah shows Albrecht Nino's corpse at the dining table. Albrecht understands the situation, and Jonah shares that he's worked in forensics for 15 years, primarily focusing on autopsies. He recounts 2 chilling experiences. One where a 20-year-old woke up during an autopsy, and another where an elderly man revived and blamed his son for his death. Albrecht is stunned. During their conversation, a boy named Patricio sneaks into the house and sees Nino through the glass door. Sensing his presence, Nino turns to look at him. The boy screams, drawing Jonah and Albrecht's attention. They find Patricio's bag, but not the boy. Deciding to move Nino, they place him in the freezer. Meanwhile, Patricio records everything on his phone. Finesse returns and discovers Nino has been placed in the freezer. He orders Jonah to turn it off and hears Nino crying inside. As they approach, a loud thud terrifies them, prompting Albrecht to suggest collaboration to solve the mystery. In the present day, Albrecht and her team inform Juan they need his permission to investigate his house. Juan agrees and signs the necessary papers. The team, including Rosentak, Juan, and Albrecht, arrives at the haunted area with Finesse. Juan stays at Alicia's house, while Albrecht inspects the site where Clara died. Funès and Rosenstock remain at Walter's house, where Rosenstock discovers eerie writings on walls. Albrecht sets up a device to detect signals. He asks Rosenstock what they're searching for, and Rosenstock explains they're gathering clues about the events of that night. Funès, frightened, shares his health concerns, and Rosenstock suggests he leave. Meanwhile, Jonah sets up his own paranormal detection equipment and receives a call asking about Alicia. He provides her new contact details. Back at Walter's house, Rosenstock and Funès notice spoons and knives stuck to the cupboard, defying gravity. When Rosenstock touches them, his hand gets stuck and a knife pierces it. Funès panics, but Rosenstock remains calm. They hear a blood-sucking sound, but find nothing in the cupboard. Funès frees Rosenstock, and they retreat from the kitchen. Funès calls Albrecht, warning her things are spiraling out of control. Rosenstock, however, insists they're on the right track, revealing they've found the epicenter of the paranormal activity. Rosenstock orders Funès to clean the blood, but Funès is terrified to find bloody footprints. He calls Jonah, expressing his fear of the unexplainable phenomena. Jonah notices someone near the window and asks if it's Funès, but Funès denies it. Confused, Jonah is startled when an eerie entity appears before him. Meanwhile, Albrecht's device leads her to the tap, but she finds nothing. It then directs her to a crack in the wall, where she spots a mysterious figure. Funès returns to Rosenstock, who claims to have found a clue. Rosenstock instructs Funès to look under the bed, but he sees nothing. When told to look from above, Funès is horrified to see paranormal figures. He raises his gun, but Rosenstock stops him. Overwhelmed, Funès leaves the house to calm down. Later, Funès searches for Rosenstock, but can't find him. He hears noises from a cupboard and, after tearing apart the wall, discovers Jonah trapped inside, begging for help. Funès rushes to Albrecht, insisting Jonah needs their help, but Albrecht warns him not to believe everything he sees. Funès shows her the blood on his hands, claiming it's Jonah and Rosenstock's. Albrecht calms him, advising him to wash his hands. Albrecht feels uneasy and asks Rosenstock to halt their investigation, as they've exposed themselves too much, but receives no reply. Funès demands an explanation for what's happening. Albrecht shares a theory. They live in a three-dimensional world where all dimensions exist in balance. However, creatures from the third dimension are using tap water to invade their world and possess bodies. She doesn't understand what's provoking them. As she finishes, a creature from the crack attacks and kills her. Meanwhile, Funès struggles to breathe and control his body, eventually fainting. Later, he regains consciousness and moves aside, only to see Alicia staring at him. As she approaches, Funès pleads for help, but Alicia is furious he buried her son in concrete. Funès claims he did it for her and begs her to take him to the hospital. Alicia agrees, but when Funès reaches her car, he's horrified to find her son's corpse inside and retreats to his own vehicle. A twisted, lifeless Albrecht rushes to him, asking for help, but Funès drives away. He leaves the neighborhood and parks his car far from the area. He lights a cigarette to calm down when his colleague contacts him, revealing the chaos Alicia caused at the police station. Enrique mentions he's in the neighborhood and sees Jonah acting strangely. After multiple warnings, Enrique agrees to leave the area. Funès becomes furious and returns with gasoline containers. He enters Alicia's house, shouting for her to leave. He douses the house in gasoline and eventually finds Alicia dead and hanging. Funès makes a difficult decision. He covers her in gasoline and exits the house. He struggles to light a match, but is startled when Jonah appears. However, Funès shoots and sets the houses ablaze. Days later, a new team of investigators questions one about Albrecht, Jonah, and Rosenstock. One explains how they tried to help him because they had evidence. Next, they ask about Funès, and one mentions his relationship with Alicia and his health issues. The investigators inform him that Funès set the houses on fire, killing Albrecht, Jonah, and Rosenstock inside. However, they note that forensics found Juan's fingerprints throughout Clara's house, suggesting he killed her. Juan seems distracted and points, asking if an invisible man came with them. When questioned who, Juan points out Rosenstock, revealing his face is burnt. As the investigators look behind, a chair moves and flies toward them, ending the film.